Hey, what's going on? It's Quinn David Furness, and it's time for the Beantown podcast for Sunday, June 30th, 2019, last day of June, summer solstice month. It's a month without a federal holiday, would you believe that? I'd say every month should have a federal holiday, and even if that means making, Valentine's Day a federal holiday in February, or St. Patty's Day, which should obviously be a federal holiday in March, I say go for it. Full steam ahead, boys. This is Quinn. This is my voice. I'm the director, creator, owner, co-host, and best boy and all that stuff on this show. Quinn David Furness presents the Beantown podcast. And, we've done this maybe once or twice before, but it's been a while. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be a Beantown podcast. So when you're listening to it, you're probably in the morning with your cup of coffee or middle of the day, whatever. But I'm out here late night doing a podcast for the Beaners because that's how dedicated I am to you all, the listening base. It's late. I'm coming to you live about 11:30 p.m. and getting a podcast in for those faithful listeners. You might have heard that we got some buttons, Buttons, not the Duttons, not the Mormon family from Branson, but the buttons with a B as in boy that say I Heart Beantown on them. If you want a button, come by to beautiful Rogers Park, where we are recording live tonight, and we will be happy to hand you one of those buttons. Otherwise, this is my show. It's one of the better shows on the north side of Chicago, and it is your number one source for misinformation across the internet and interwebs and all subsequent networks. Listener discretion is advised when you're listening to the Beantown podcast. Number one, we'll occasionally use some late night language. Number two, this podcast is objectively terrible, as voted by you, the fans. Well, what's happening? My name is Quinn, and this is my show, and I'm eating some Taco Bell. In fact, I haven't even started yet. Again, it's Taco Bell. It's a popular chain of Mexican fast food restaurants that you can find scattered throughout the country, and I'm eating some right now. And I tell you what, I ordered some last Saturday night. I was out celebrating with a friend of the podcast, Sean, who's been on before. Check out the Farewell to Farwell episode from summer 2018. But I was out celebrating Sean, who is earning his master's degree. And congrats to Sean. Anyways, we were out drinking after that ceremony. And, the tequila comes out, yada, yada, yada. Well, then I ended up at a bar. And y'all haven't heard this story. I say y'all because sometimes I like to say y'all. Because we did our podcast. Oh, there goes my Taco Bell wrapper. Hang on. Man down. It's like frickin' Saving Private Ryan over here. Saving Private Taco Bell wrapper. Because when we recorded with JP for the last episode, our NBA draft episode, that was actually Thursday night, so it's been about 10 days. So last Saturday night, I drank. And you might be thinking to yourself, wow, Quinn, well, you're kind of drunk right now. No, that's not true. I have a light buzz going. I'm about 4 to 5 drinks in. But that's, we're talking like legit a 7 to 8 hour span. So I had a couple. I feel good. Going to bed as soon as we finish recording, etc. But last Saturday night, so after all the festivities end, I was feeling, like Superman, Hercules, if you will. I was like, no, I'm not done yet. So I go out to the local dive bar, and it's me, and it's 3 Cougars. Again, that's Cougar, Cougar, who are like putting money into the jukebox. ABBA, Foreigner, Elton John, all the hits, they just keep coming. And, I'm pretty toasted at that point, so I order a couple of PBRs, and we just dance the night away, like Van Halen once said. Next thing I know, they're ordering a pizza for my former local joint, and I moved about a mile south now, so it's not really my local joint anymore, but JB Alberto's for the curious kinds. And next thing I know, yada, 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 the pizza's at the bar, and we're munching down and having a good time and dancing. And before I know it, the three ladies, shout out to Bill Burr, have vacated the premises. And I'm sitting there by myself. It's probably like 1:30 a.m. at that point, by myself at this bar, last customer. And I quickly packed up my things and went home. But that was, I don't usually drink a ton, nor do I go to bars by myself to eat pizza with cougars, but we had a good time, You never know what you're going to find Saturday night in north side of Chicago. So let me get some Taco Bell here. Oh, I remember how Taco Bell factors in. So after that, I go to the Taco Bell because I'm like, I need dinner, which is sort of what I'm doing now. And I was a little bit more toasted than I thought. And fast forward to about 9:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, I wake up with a burrito in my hand, 2 more in the bag, and I'm like, damn, man, what happened last night? And then I remembered that I went to Taco Bell after the Cougar Bar. But then I was like, I had pizza, so why did I don't know. The mind thinks what it wants to think. So that was Saturday, and boy, was I hungover on Sunday. Wow. And my older years here, the hangovers have increased by quite a bit. And this wasn't even my worst hangover, because I've had some really bad hangovers before where you're just like crazy nauseous and you throw up once or twice. I had one of those after a wedding in April in Chicago, coincidentally. But this one was just like, man, I don't want to do anything. It reminded me of being a little kid when you're like either sick or pretend to be sick as a little kid, and all you do is like lie in bed all day and watch TV, and that's kind of your day. Which now being an adult is like, or at least with my agenda, kind of unheard of. I mean, I'm either at work on a weekday or on weekends I'm like out and about because it's my one time to do things. So just like lying around and watching stuff between the hours of, like 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. is just like, what the hell are you doing? So I'm not used to it. Anyways, that's what I did on Sunday. I finally was able to get up and get something to eat by like 8 p.m. I made some supper. Supper is a great word. I love using that word, supper, instead of dinner. But yeah, it was rough. Anyways, and I use that term anyways quite a number of times already, but I think it adequately captures the rapid progression of the story I'm trying to encapsulate. So, work week starts, that sort of thing. I tell you what, I was trying to find something to do last night, Friday night, which it wasn't last night because this is Sunday now. For those who are listening to you live, for those listening to me live, not you live. Hang on, I had to get some more Taco Bell. Apologies to those of you who listened last week to my 45-minute improv jam session with John Paul Pandowski, and you're like, hey, the Beantown podcast is actually doing something good for once. And fast forward to this week, and you're like, oh, kind of back to the crapper. I agree with that. I didn't have any plans last night. So yesterday at work, I'm kind of poking around Facebook, which is good for events still. And I just casually come across an Elizabeth Warren town hall, like a block from my workspace. And I'm just like, okay. I see you, Betsy. What's the catch here? Is there like ticket price, Was this sold out months ago? Like, what's the deal? Nope. Come on in, have a good time, listen to Elizabeth Warren. So I did. And they advertised it as a town hall, which to me, town hall is like maybe the candidate makes an opening statement of 10, 15 minutes, whatever, and then they spend like an hour plus answering questions, right? That's what a town hall is. So I go to this event, Auditorium Theater, downtown Chicago, Wells and Wabash, and there's an intro speaker who's like fine, but speaks for 10 minutes, which is a long time when you're like, I want to see Elizabeth Warren. And then Elizabeth Warren came out and she spoke for a long time, man, like 45 minutes. And the whole time I'm just sitting there thinking like, because they already started about 20 minutes after they said they were starting. And I'm just like, hey, I want to hear like, I already know your policy and your platforms because it's out. It's, you know, it's online. I can watch you on TV, like whatever. It's good stuff. I'm with it, but like, I want to hear how you respond to like hard hitting questions. They got 2, maybe 3 questions, and they just like rushed them right at the end. And they did that. So they had this system where they, you know, raffle ticket essentially, not raffle, but like those tickets they use for raffle tickets. You know, the tearaway ones, that's what they were using. So at the very end, they're like calling numbers randomly for people to ask their questions. And they were like, we're going to do 3. So they called 2, whatever, they got them. They call and they were calling all at once and then moving to the asking questions so they could get like 3 people lined up. Well, they call the third one, and this is a dumbed down version of the story because this happened multiple times, but they call the third one, you know, whatever, 62418. No one responds. So they say, okay, whatever. They call the next one, 63718. That person is like, oh my God, I got my ticket. But she's all the way on the other side of the auditorium from where the mic is, so it's going to take her a while to get there. So the first 2 people answer or ask their questions. And then the third person allegedly was someone whose ticket number had previously been called, but they didn't like announce themselves. They were just like casually hanging out. And so then that person asked their question, and the fourth person who like they actually announced and chose didn't get to ask her question because they're like, oh, we're only going to take 3 questions. So that person like got her ticket number read live on stage by Elizabeth Warren, and then it was like, oh, no, we're not going to take your question, which, frankly, I felt was kind of like a low blow. So I felt bad for that girl. She was kind of cute, too. And it's like, hey, Betsy, you know, what's the deal here? I don't know. But then she was like, E. Warren was like, come on up after we finish up here. I'm going to take some selfies. Which, as you can imagine, in a 5,000-seat auditorium, of which there were probably only 100, 200 empty seats, the line to get a selfie was particularly long. So, no, I did not, because I was literally up in the nosebleeds. I did not wait in line for an hour to get a selfie with Elizabeth Warren, although I probably could have. And I thought about it for a hot second. I was like, hey, you know, if Elizabeth Warren becomes president, like, you know how big a boost on social media this could be for me if I had a selfie with Elizabeth Warren, President Elizabeth Warren. But then I was like, yeah, but I could go home and, like, make dinner and watch TV. So I did that instead. Happy Friday. TGIF. You remember that song Last Friday Night by Katy Perry? Is Katy Perry, like, is she on American Idol or what? I just feel like she's not relevant anymore. I don't know. She had that string of, like, 5 or 6 years from probably, like, I don't know, what, like 2008 to 2013, 14, something like that. where I feel like she was Queen. California Girls, I Kissed a Girl, Firework, Teenage Dream, Last Friday Night, you know the other ones, Dark Horse, where she was just like on top of stuff. And I apologize because there's probably 2 or 3 hits that I left out, but I don't care. You know what I'm getting at. And now it's like she changed her hair. She's kind of crazy. TBH. I've seen an interview once or twice lately, and she's like, "Oh, wait, you're kind of a weirdo." She's not with Russell Brand anymore. I think that's a big mistake. Because when she was with Russell Brand, then she was the normal one. Now that she's single, it's like, oh, wait. Suddenly, I'm not the normal one anymore. So, I don't know. Hey, KP88, assuming that's her birth year, because I don't know. If you're out there listening to the Beantown podcast, if you're one of the 7 of us listening, shoot us a message and we'd be happy to chat with you on the podcast. I think that could be good for both of our social media images. All right. Let's get to some ads here. It's going to be a shorter podcast because I'm literally like, 1, I'm eating. 2, I want to go to bed. What? Last Saturday night, I didn't get to go to bed until probably like 3. I slept on my couch. First time. And I would say I don't remember a thing. It was comfortable. But I was like 12 drinks in, so I don't think I can accurately judge something. But let's go ahead and read some ads here. Let me get some water first. Well, I got 1 bite left. 1 bite. If you had bum 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 bum. If you had one bite, bum bum bum. Palms are sweaty. Mom's spaghetti. Taco Bell Moretti. All right. That was the last bite. So, let's get to some ads. I ought to check my texts first. All right, I'm good. Here we go. Let's rumble. Home Pride, Oregon. Oh, you know it's going to be good when Home Pride, Oregon rolls into town. Sip of water, then I'm ready, I promise. Ooh, I spilled a little on the couch. Quick shout out before you eat the Home Pride, Oregon. Quick shout out to Jack Links. Uncle Andy at the wedding, and for those beaners of you know the pictures in the video by now about hoisting the jerky. Hoist. Also included in that package deal, though, were 2 Jack Links growlers. And I had been storing them at a friend's house, and she finally got back from a work trip a couple weeks long. And I was able to reacquire them. So now I have the 2 Jack Links growlers at my apartment. And you know what I like to do? I get home after a little while being out. It's hot inside because I don't have air conditioning. I pop out a number of ice cubes, usually 6. And these babies are like cubes, and they're thick. Like 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch at least. Probably more than that. I pop them all in there. I fill it up with water. And I've got, how much is a growler? Like 40 ounces, something like that. I got 40 ounces-ish of fresh, ice-cold Rocky Mountain spring water. And that's really what life is all about. So thanks to Jack Links. It looks great after a hot run or hot yoga or hot anything. I love it. Keeps me cool and refreshed. So, Home Pride, Oregon. I'm not wearing my glasses, so reading this ad could be challenging. But I think I know it by heart. Are you tired of selling your home for less than a quarter of what it's worth, all because you couldn't find a reliable home inspector in time? Well, Oregon listeners, there is good news. Home Pride Inspection Services in Bend, Oregon is Central Oregon's hottest new home inspection provider with inspection services including things like heating and cooling, roofing, plumbing, and so much more. Home Pride Oregon is both contractor certified and this is very important, home inspection certified, so you know you're getting the good stuff. If you're tired of big real estate anglehold on, I hurt my neck doing that, on the home inspection market, and you want a safe, certified home inspector that you can trust, fireworks, 4th of July is coming up. Maybe we'll do a special or something. I haven't thought that far ahead yet. Because I'm a communist, I suppose. Call Steve at 541-410-0316. I always love looking at the 0316 because that's my birthday. Or visit homeprideoregon.com. That's 541-410-0316. Or visit homeprideoregon.com. Home Pride Oregon inspection. Perfection. Shout out to the TV Guide, which I think we're at a point, Beaners, we're about to hit the 3-month mark where I think we can maybe go rest in peace. I don't know. I think next week I'll probably do an official, burial of some kind, but I got 4 TV Guides. That was it. It's just I don't understand. Because for the first month when they stopped coming, I was kind of just oh, it's a joke. Oh, they'll be there. And then the second month, I was just oh, what happened? And now it's going into month 3, I'm oh, wait, they're probably not ever coming, right? It's frustrating. Quinn is frustrated. I'm distraught. I've lost sleep over this. Makes for great airtime, but bad memories. I don't know, it's just you put your trust in a TV Guide and then you physically go out and buy a TV to show your dedication to it. Next thing you know, it kicks you to the curb. They're we're not even going to come to you anymore. So I don't know. It's an emotional time. I prefer if we move on. Samson Q2U microphone series for all your podcasting, recording, and just general life needs. Samson's there for you. That crisp, clean audio quality makes sure that you're always sounding good to whoever and whomever. And don't forget that when God speaks, he uses a Samson. Here's a little Bible trivia factoid that, not even a factoid, it's a question. But something that I posed to the Beaners, because I actually have no idea, what book is Samson in? Is that a First Kings sort of thing? Is it Second Kings? Could it be Chronicles? I don't even know what happens in Chronicles. What's the deal with Chronicles? If there are any biblical or any theologians out there, please reach out to the Beantown perfect time. This worked out perfectly. Perfect time to advertise our email address. That's address, ADDRESS. You know where to find us. We are Cuts. Nope, that's the wrong email address. We are Beantown Podcast at yahoo.com. Again, that's Beantown, BEANTO podcast at yahoo.com. Complaints, concerns, questions, all that stuff. You know how to find us. This might be the podcast with the most dead air in between words/phrases. And that's okay. Sometimes you just got to take a load off. We got one more ad to read here, though, and it is Cuts by Q. Bob and weave, we all know the hairstyle. We all love it. And I'll mention this, and this is a completely true story. This morning, which was Saturday morning, June 29th, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, hey, this guy needs a cuts by Q. Actually, first I was like, this guy needs a shave. Because I've been riding kind of the same, like, as much facial hair as I can grow minus a neck beard look for like a month now. Which might not sound like a lot of time, but for me, who, like, I get complacent pretty easily, I'm just like, whatever, let's try something new. I always, every, like, month or 2 months or so, I completely shave, thinking that maybe now that I can pull off, like, my baby fat look. I'm still not there. Maybe when I'm, like, 50, when I grow into these cheeks a little bit, but still, and I just shaved clean this morning, and I look at myself in the mirror, and I'm not even like, oh my God, you look 17, because I don't. It's just like, where did all that pudge come from? It's the biggest question, and it's very white. But I also, then I'm looking at myself, and actually had been thinking of this for a couple of days, but I'm like, it might be time for a little trim on the sides and the back. So I go out, and actually on my back porch, I use an extension cord to connect into the kitchen, and I'm, using my phone as a mirror, classic Cuts by Q setup. Get myself a little bit on the side, a little bit on the back, and then I'm like, this looks okay, but now, and a common problem I have is it's too long on the top. So I'm like, let me trim some of that. So I had to try to predict which number to use. Do you use like a 4, a 6, an 8, whatever, with a hair trimming? The local or the fellow barbers in the audience will know what I'm referencing. And so I think I picked a 4, maybe, I don't remember. But I give my top a trim, and now it's a little bit shorter than I wanted, and the sides are all buzzed. So when you combine the sides being buzzed with the beard and the stash gone, now I look kind of like Peasant Boy 2000. But whatevs, I'll grow into it. But it's all courtesy of Cuts by Q, bob and weave. We all know the hairstyle. We all love it. But how many Midtown Baltimore-based, nope, I gotta change this ad, north side of Chicago-based independent barbers can actually give it to you the way you deserve? Enter Cuts by Q. It's like Enter Sandman, but completely different. Cuts by Q has been independently owned and operated since 1995 and is probably one of the better barbershop operations serving the north side of Chicago and Cook County, Illinois. From beehives to bangs, faux hawks to flat tops and everything in between, call Cuts by Q at 815-298-7200 or email cutsbyq@yahoo.com. That's Cuts, Q-U-T-Z by Q at yahoo.com. Oh, and sing it with me if you know how it goes. Oh, when you need a fresh do, something snappy and new, just call the experts at Cuts by Q. Wow. I got a little while at the end. Cuts by Q. All right, how are we doing on time here? 28 minutes. I tell you what, that's kind of where I wanted to be. And I'm trying to think, do I have anything else? Sometimes you kind of go through all your material, and then you read the ads, and next thing you know, you're like, hey, we're at half an hour. And if you'll recall, for those beaners who've been with us since the beginning, all 2.5 of you, if you recall from the beginning, I think my first episode was like 20 minutes, and I was like, oh, it's the perfect time. I don't want to be longer than this. Next thing you know, you're putting out year one specials that are 4.5 hours. Boy, that got out of hand quickly. But, that's all I got. And sometimes it's good to just be like, you don't need an extra 15 minutes of airtime if you got nothing to say. The beaners might be like, oh, this one's only 29 minutes. Maybe I'll take a listen versus the ones that are 45 minutes. And you're like, I don't have time for this. So sometimes you just cut it short. And that's really all I got to say. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And apologies for the weird structure ads come right at the end. But I'm comfortable if you're comfortable. This has been Quinn David Furness. This is my podcast, Beantown Podcast. And don't forget to check out my new project, the White Noise Podcast, with friend of the podcast, Matt Fiedler. We host that. You can find it on Anchor, Spotify, I suppose, Apple Podcasts, whatever. It's kind of tough to find, so just type in White Noise and then Matt or Quinn, whatever. and then hope and pray, and it'll come up eventually. So that's what we got for you. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great week. We'll check in on you 4th of July time. Hey, I'm going to see the Killers and Death Cab at Summerfest in Milwaukee next Friday, so I'm sure we'll have some tales from there. But yeah, I remember one thing I wanted to say. After I was hanging out with a friend today, and then after that, I went to a bar by myself, which I'm a big fan of. And I know some people are like, "Oh, why would you ever go by yourself?" And I'm just like, to experience it, man. You don't have to always be. And I'm not judging anyone who doesn't want to go to a bar by himself, but the way I feel is like, if I'm feeling like I always have to be with someone, to go out, then I'm not going to go out very often. Not because I don't have friends, but just because, it's a lot to like. I can either just like decide, hey, I'm going to put on a shirt and go to a bar, or it can be like texting people, trying to figure out when and where to meet them, yada, yada, yada. Sometimes it's a lot easier to just be like, hey, I'm going to pack up my stuff myself, and I'm going to go to this bar and have a drink. So I went to a bar, and it was crazy, because this is a fairly, not like jammin' bar, but usually pretty popular. And this was just hours ago. This was Saturday night at about 6 p.m., 7 p.m. maybe. So a bar that like should be pretty poppin', right? It was me and 2 other people plus the bartender. It was crazy. One was this older black lady who had just gone to the Target to get a wireless charger for her phone, but she was having trouble figuring it out, so we set it up for her. And she was overjoyed, like the Stevie Wonder song, that she could charge her phone wirelessly. I don't know why I said it that way, because there's no H in wireless. But it got me thinking, like, hey, sometimes going out by yourself, you get to meet people you would never meet before, and they're not people who are going to be my best friends, but they're like neighbors. They live in the city. They're hanging out. They just want to have a good time, have a drink, like it's a nice summer day. And you just have some conversation for 20 minutes. Doesn't matter if it's about the Cubs game, if it's about wireless chargers, if it's about the system, if it's about women. Who cares? Just go out, have a good time. You don't have to exchange numbers. You don't have to follow them on Instagram. Just be in the moment. You're not building anything. You're just experiencing each other's company. And so to all my friends out there who are glued to their Instagram pages every night and day, just sometimes it's nice. And I'm not even like unplug. Whatever. You do what you want to do. But just go be with some people for a little bit. Go to a bar by yourself. See what happens. Have a good time. Live your life. Okay, that's all I got for you on the Beantown podcast. Everyone, be kind to one another. Have a good week. Don't shoot off your fingers with fireworks like John, what's his name? Jason Pierre-Paul. I was going to say John Paul Bandowski, and I was like, nah, that's the wrong person. Jason Pierre-Paul, if you want to see a gruesome image, Google what his hand looked like. He's down to 2 fingers. Kind of got a claw going, poor guy. Those Frenchies are wild. They seek him here, they seek him there. Those Frenchies seek him everywhere. Is he in heaven? Is he in hell? That damned elusive Pimpernel. For $100 in Beantown cash, for the listeners out there, let me know where that's from, and I'll hook you up with some buttons. All right, until next time, have a good one. This is Quinn David Furness. This is my podcast, the Beantown Podcast. Have a good week, everyone. Happy 4th of July, and we'll check in on you next time.